Alright, we are back with the dev stream overview. We are going to be going over how it really affects what's going to be happening. I am here, your host, Jin, with my co-host.
Jignut, here back once again.
To start us off, I'm going to be going over the vertical launch system, the new way of traveling past day 3. All hyperloops are replaced, and hyperloops will reactivate if the zone is fully closed. This isn't fully there. During the preseason, they will be trying without this feature and adding it in if the game feels really bad, which it's more likely to feel more jank, so hopefully they just add it in. The actual VLS launchpad lets you travel for a certain amount of time with your team controlled by the first person on the launch pad. You gain vision of your surroundings halfway through the jump and are stunned briefly upon landing. You can break off from the original person controlling, so you can't be entered with it obviously. And mobile versions can be bought from Lumi. Now, what do you think about this, Jignut?
I think this new transport system is going to really impact the game. I'm personally happy to be able to use this system on day 3 to avoid teleporting directly on top of teams. It's going to help for a lot of third-party issues with a lot of teams TPing to a zone when they see, there's a meteor in a box in there. They can't do that anymore if they're far enough away.
Poor macro is really going to be affected by this. We'll probably see a lot of tier changes and nuance if you don't have a person really leading the way that knows what they're doing. But it is also really good because, as you said, there's a lot less RNG for dying off TPs because you get to see people while you're landing. And they said that the vision and the sound that you'll be hearing will be very noticeable, so you won't just be getting third-partied out of nowhere if you're paying attention.
Yeah, I'm personally... this is one of the features I'm most excited for with the new season.
Funnily enough, I did think of an interaction if they do add in the red zone hyperloop, where you can actually have a mobile version of a hyperloop in the red zone. I don't know if it would work that way, but I think it'd be funny. And also you can take like the VLS and then have 2 people holding one of the launch pads and pretty much still travel the entire map. I think it'll be really fun. It'll be an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, we'll see how it's implemented.
I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 right now. I think it's going to be really good.
I will give it a 9. Secret labs are another big feature coming to Season 6. They are little side rooms that you can enter with a new gadget called a card key. So far we only know that the card key can be dropped from the new animal we'll talk about later. And there are 4 different secret labs with different rewards. Also, it's worth noting that only one team can be in a lab at once, so you are completely safe of any casualties there. The 4 labs are the Credit Lab, which is for gaining credits, the Mutant Lab, which is for farming and possibly getting those sweet RNG drops, the Abandoned Lab is to get a large amount of vision tools, and lastly, the Blue Lab, which is where you fight the Gamma boss from Cobalt Protocol, which will give you another big reward. Upon finishing a lab, you get to see a scan, similar to when respawning. You get to see everyone's positions, and you get to hyperloop out. There is a timer on the restricted labs. We don't have the exact number, but they will turn into a restricted zone after a certain amount of time, stopping you from sitting in there. And there are still some unclear details about it, such as the Blue Lab reward, how exactly long you can stay on them, and other ways to get the gadgets other than the Ravens. So I will definitely be curious about some of these, but you'll find out when the patch notes drop.
Quick fix. They said in the English one that the Abandoned Lab vision tools, it will also be getting traps, because I think they got rid of traps almost entirely this season. A very interesting thing to do.
So traps will be much more exclusive. Interesting.
Yeah. I think these can go like one way or another because they're really strong, but also it feels very needed, at least in the current meta, where there are times when there's 7 teams alive, day 4, which is something that VLS might actually help with.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Might be kind of hard to balance, so I hope they are off to changing it often as it needs to be.
Yeah, it gives so much for like an RNG, pretty much no matter what you're doing. Unless you get like the Abandoned Lab, then I don't think it's as strong. It's kind of messed up.
It's like you can even use it like, if there's three teams in the zone, you can't make it to a TP, maybe go in the lab for a minute and wait it out, And then you can TP out after it's over, so
I might start to mold if I see like a fourth party and then one of the teams just dips.
Dips into their little secret lab.
I might go insane.
It will be interesting.
I'm still going to be giving it an 8 out of 10. I think this is a really cool change. I'm happy.
I will also give it an 8. I'm excited to see what we can do with these labs.
Alright. It's my favorite change. There's no more battle zones. They're being completely removed. There will be 5 red zones previously, 3 battle zone, 2 red zones, and 3 purple supply crates will drop to replace the battle zone objectives. Alpha drops credits instead of recon drones now.
I am personally very excited for removal of battle zones. They felt very RNG centric in terms of who wins, or sometimes sometimes you can be at the battle zone and do a lot of preparation just to get screwed over by a third party that you can't really do much about, or sometimes you get lucky and walk into the battle zone last and that lets you get a free 4 score.
Yeah, no, fuck these things. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There's too many issues with these, and they aren't fun, and they don't give you good RP anymore. So these things felt like a worthless, like gambling thing you were kind of forced to do.
It was also another problem was like lower respawn timers. Then you have a bunch of teams respawning in different zones at the same time, so they don't know that each other are in there. You know, all of a sudden like 4 teams can show up to an alpha that it said there was no people at. Another really annoying issue.
These things suck. I'm never gonna drop that opinion. I'm happy that they're gone. They've been in the game for too long.
This is a 10 out of 10. I think they were really just designed with solos in mind.
Yeah, I'm giving it an 11 out of 10. I don't think there's going to be a better change.
Next, a smaller change. Wild animals will now drop items in the zones that they are currently located in instead of random items within a set pool. This is not a huge change, but a nice little change. For instance, maybe if there's a lot of shirts taken from the zone, you can maybe find it off an animal now. Not a big deal, but a change that can maybe help out occasionally.
Yeah, I think it will mainly help out in like zone 3s where you can start farming and everything's already gone. Like when you get those really messed up zones where there's like 8 people in the zone to start with and you have to go there for like your second or your third. It's not as like inherently cooked as it was before. I'm going to be giving it a 6 out of 10. It's not crazy, but it's good.
I was also thinking a 6, as it's a good change, but it's not a super impactful change. It won't come up often.
Alright, and we get to see our new Pokemon added to the game. It's Ravens. A new animal type, they roam in set patterns and always drop 2 recon drones, and give vision briefly in the surrounding area after they're killed. They have a low chance of dropping the card key gadget. Additionally, bats will drop 2 telephoto cameras and mutant ravens will drop EMP drones. Regular cameras will no longer exist.
It's been a long time since we've had a new animal, so I'm looking forward to this. I am also a big fan of there going to be a lot more cameras in general for the game now, with each bat dropping 2 cameras, each raven dropping 2 drones. That's going to be a lot more vision control, and that's also honestly just good.
These things look really funny. I'm pretty sure in the base art they're like as big or like twice the size of Hunwoo. I think that's funny to think about.
It sure is.
I don't think their inclusion means as much as the changes they made to better fit them. Like, it is crazy that we're going to be getting bats in every zone and ravens. And now ravens are like a thing that you can actively route for when you think your team's really bad, so that you can get a guaranteed key card and escape.
Well, it's not a guaranteed key card, it's just a chance of dropping.
I mean, if I'm only farming ravens for like 20 minutes, surely. I'll take my eyes out if I don't get one, I'll cry, man. I think these are going to land well. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I think Vision's finally going in a better spot.
I am very excited. Having a new animal's cool, but I'm super excited for more Vision availability across the board. So I will probably also give it a 9.
Alright, a great nothing change. It'll affect like maybe 1 in 100 games. We're seeing 2 bushes removed. We don't know how this really affects it in rainy weather, but it's interesting enough. It's a change.
It is the bush in Alley by the console and the bush in Forest by the console. I would say the forest one is particularly a pretty nice bush to remove, but the alley one really just doesn't come up often.
Funnily enough, I actually lost one of my games because I couldn't hit a Chiara when they ran into the bush and I had no cameras.
Well,
And then I autoed the person on the left and we lost the fight because I couldn't kill Chiara afterwards.
there you go. Next patch, you win those.
I might still lose those. We'll see.
Alright.
It's like a 7 out of 10 for me.
I'll give it a 6. It doesn't really come up for me. I'm a melee character. You know, bushes don't really affect me. I'm droning those. Next we have some local wildlife plant locations changing and some meteorite locations changing. We just have a couple different spots changing. The White Lily in Alley was previously in the building next to the console. It is now outside the building below it. Just small locations like that. We don't have all the meteor location changes either, but it is worth noting that they have changed. This isn't super important for the most part. Usually these changes don't matter all that much. Like maybe the temple White Lily they added this season was pretty impactful for escaping, since temples tend to be a cramped zone. But meteorite locations changing, we'll have to see exactly where those are before we can say much about them. So I'll just give it like a 6. It's kind of just a whatever change until we know.
Yeah, I think it's too early because the only thing we can really say that we're going to understand the nuance of is the white lilies. Because there have been times where like you're running away and you get to it because it's in the building, or you don't get to it because it's in the building, and now that like functionally changes it. Well, it's like a little bit, but before where you would make it with a flash, you might not and they get to catch you now, or you might. Depends on where you're running from. The meteorite, I think they said they were changing the pathing, or not pathing, what is it, how like they spawn together too often.
Oh, that's a good change then. I'm quite tired of the beach meteor hotel tree.
Yeah, I don't know why they were so like they wanted all that chaos so much, because most of the time like teams don't even die from that. It's just they lose a bunch of tempo and then it's cooked. It's just not fun.
Yeah, well, hopefully this will see changes to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. It doesn't really mean that much to me. The hyperloops got changed. These ones were changed for factory and hotel. I think there might be a third.
Hospital.
Hospital, that's right. Mainly just because of the VLS systems. We could actually see this change because of how people route. Inherently, some parts of the zone are going to be a lot worse now. I think you're really going to be punished if you have to go dock into factory now because the hyperloop is so much further away.
Another thing worth noting is that the hyperloop change in factory specifically was where a cluster is, and based off the screenshot, that cluster seems to be moved now. So it will definitely change some early routing a bit.
It is an interesting thing all the same though. I don't think we're going to be able to see the nuances until we're forced to have to run those routes.
Yeah, and again, they were moved with the vertical launch system in mind, so it's mostly moving them out of corners a bit more deeper into the zone, towards the middle of the zone, to maybe allow you to launch a bit farther. So I'll give it a 5 for now. It kind of only impacts once we see the vertical systems in play.
Yeah, I think 5 is a very fair. I'm going to give it a 6. I like it a little more.
Next, another small but quite good change in my opinion. The Research Center jump pads. Now in each of the 4 corners of the Research Center, there will be a jump pad which leads to a zone. They lead into forest, fire station, pond, and the other one is also at the bottom of forest. So this will actually help you be able to get out of these scenarios where you're being camped in Research Center a bit easier. You won't have to spend as much timer. It doesn't come up super often, but I am quite happy about the change. I'll give it a 8.
I think there's so much potential for random things to happen where maybe you get a boon and the half-health person who took the jump pad is now in between 3 people, or maybe you just get jumped because 3 people ran away and now they're on top of you. They look funny, but I don't know if I like the extra RNG being added to it, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. A larger change than most people realize. We're changing the call-in price to 15 credits, and a little bit less impactful is the food and drinks going to a max stack of 6 no matter what you're doing. This is overall okay. I do think the 15 credits is actually huge. We might see like a nuance where we're getting 2 paths where you're calling in 2 extra items because it's only 30 credits now. and you still gain credits really fast. Not as fast because of the change later we'll talk about, but it's still going to be like so efficient, especially if you can kill someone. So I'm definitely expecting to see a lot more 2-paths from this change. What do you think?
I am also going to be excited to run some 2-paths because I don't know about you, but Camillo has been pretty confined into a single route for a long time, even with different items. So if this allows me to run a 2-path for different zones, that would be amazing. Another detail worth mentioning is that you can get recon drones and telephotos for potentially 30 credits here, which is a lot cheaper. So it just seems there's going to be like a lot more vision overall, which I think is, for the most part, a good thing.
I don't know if that's going to be true because they got rid of cameras, remember?
Yeah, I do know that, but...
So I think they're going to keep the price at 50. It's a very good chance anyways. I think they like it.
We'll have to see, because I think if it is 15 per one, it might be too much vision, honestly.
Yeah, I think it would be smart if they kept it at 50.
We'll see. For the new route is opening, though, I will give it an 8.
Oh, the monkey prowl curls and all of your 2-paths are still Beach Hotel. 7 out of 10.
Another smaller change, but we're going to see less items required for transitioning, specifically Shooting Star Jacket, Laurel Wreath, and Tack Visor. Before, you had to fully build the previous purple item to build this transition item. Now that will no longer be required, and they will only need 1 or 2 components, like most other transitions in the game. A small change, it's just a 5 out of 10 for me.
I'm really feeling this because having to route Laurel Wreath was terrible. And usually Tack wasn't that bad, but it felt so confining when I'd only want to use the upgraded version, and I'd be way more inclined to use another item and then rotate into that. Like for Tack Visor, I always really wanted to use the purple item Virtuous Outlaw because it gave swift strides early, and then switch into Tack Visor to get more stats I wanted late game. That was just never realistic. Now it's like actually something I can do, so it opens up a path. I still think it's a 5 out of 10 though. It's just interesting.
It is a very niche change.
Another super niche change that we can't really say anything about. We got 3 new base materials: chemicals, coal, and diamonds. I really can't say anything about this. We're gonna have to wait like so long. It's probably gonna be like 4 weeks into the season until we really understand what they're doing with this, because they can take it anywhere.
I believe they said their purpose was just to make it so that items will maybe not need, like, you know, or builds will not need 4 scrap metal or things like that, to add some item diversity to recipes, so you don't have to grab so many of one item. But I don't know if this will completely solve the issue, as it highly depends on which character wants what items, so we'll see. It's just another 5 out of 10. Don't really know until we see it in game.
Yeah, I have to agree. 5 out of 10. It's neither here nor there right now.
Next, there will be some changes with credit gain. As already mentioned, Alpha will now drop a credit reward when killed, and there is also the credit lab, where we can gain large amounts of credits, along with also items only costing 15 upon calling in. There's going to be some changes to credit gain. There's going to be a lot more credits across the board this season, so it's likely they will change the base gain speed for credits, at least at the start of the game.
Yeah, it feels like every season it just gets higher and higher. I remember, I believe it was in season 4, you'd be lucky to have a game where you're at like 1100, and now that's like the baseline for what you end up late game.
Again, don't really know how this will impact everything till we actually get to play it, but I'm just hoping there's not, you know, we're getting a 4 score and another item before Alpha. But I highly assume that will not be the case, so I'll just give it a 5 because we don't know what's going on with it.
I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. Stop adding so many credits to this game. I don't want to see 5 blood 9-eye cash anymore. Alright, now we're on to character reworks. These were definitely seen coming for a lot of the characters. There's a good amount of characters that just really struggle in either solo queue or competitive, and I think they're mainly aiming at making it better for them. There's also one that I think is being made more so for like normals players, which I'll talk about when I see. To start us out though, we have Luke. Luke's R is turning into an AoE slow backstep. I think this does play a little better into his character with how his new Q and E work, so it's a little interesting to see. Speaking of, his Q now doesn't reduce shields anymore, but you get the Evo effect of, I believe, is it a heal?
It is a heal.
Yes, you get the heal from the start, and when you upgrade it, now you get a defense reduction. This definitely makes him less matchup checky, and I certainly like it less, but it is interesting to see like one of our two characters with shield reduction just get it taken away. And then the last change for Luke is his E now resets your camera cooldown when you use it and no longer destroys the camera. I don't know how much this is really going to affect Luke. It's probably just a quality of life change. Oh wait, one more thing. I believe his W got a change where on each auto it refunds a little bit of the cooldown from elbow grease once it's evolved instead of the different evolution. I'm not 100% on that. It's a very small change. What do you think about it, Luke?
I'm a bit worried, honestly. We've had, Tank Luke running around NA, healing absurd amounts, and now we're giving him better access to using his W even more, so I'm healing on his Q now. A bit worried, honestly. His new ult does look a lot better for the character, thematically and for kit-wise, so I'm glad they are getting a better ult, but I'm just a bit worried on the balancing of this character now.
Yeah, I'm terrified. This character, I already lose no matter like what items he is on. I'm sure one day I'll probably lose to like an Amp Luke or something. I don't even know anymore. I quite dislike Luke in all honesty, and I don't think that these changes make me much happier to see him. So, I mean, it's a good change. It's good for the character. I'll give it a 6 out of 10, but I don't like him.
I will also give it a 6 out of worrying.
Oh no.
The next character, and also a very big change overall, is for Mai, which was probably changed due to her major amounts of success in competitive play, especially as someone who has played her in competitive myself. I know this character is a bit of a menace. Mai's passive was the main thing that got reworked for her, where she will now upgrade chess pieces, specifically transition chess pieces, instead of having her own unique craftables. This means that Audai, Courtier, Phantom Jacket, and Mythcrop will now be craftable by everyone. Of course, these items will have a bit of a rework themselves. Also, obviously, their stats will be nerfed from being overly better than everything else. So she will now upgrade each golden chest piece individually. We only really have one example of giving Titan Armor some extra stats and heal reduction. And her other part of her rework was to her ult, where her ult range was much higher now. It recently got nerfed to 5 meters from 7, which was a pretty huge hit to the character. It seems like we are going back to the 7 meter range, but at a cost. My ult will no longer give her Shawl, which is a heal, the invincibility frames, and the auto attack damage reduction to whoever she ults. But she can still pull allies in from a much higher range. I think this is really good for the character. Maybe she won't be as dominant and competitive. We see her everywhere in ERM, and I think the new chess piece crafting is going to make it a lot smoother for characters who didn't use her pieces, like, the tact armor users, and also just keeping people able to use the builds that they normally use instead of having to kind of flex their CDR or crit chance around items they don't normally
I'm
build.
sad to see a lot of my items go, because Audai was one of my favorites and Phantom Jacket was something I used to run on pre-rework Tsubame a lot. I thought it was really good for the character just because of how overpowered the stats were. But overall, this is what Mai should have always had. She was like borderline not usable in solo queue unless you were like pretty high up, because no one's gonna know how to use your items. I don't know if it's true, but when I was looking at the ult clip, it looked like she still healed, but you didn't get the W, and it didn't look you got like the invulnerability anymore. So you might still have the heal, which is pretty nice.
Okay, I think this rework is kind of what she needed / deserved all this time, so I will give it a 9. I think it's overall good for the character and the state of the game.
I'm giving it an 8 just because I'm not really sure, but it's what I always wanted for the character. It's what she should have been. Alright, now we're on to Nadine. This is a change that even they kind of admitted didn't really mean that much, and depending on how the numbers end up working, it probably won't do too much because Bo Nadine is not seen that often. But her E will now give Amp. We don't know how much, but they really wanted to take Nadine away from being just a Q spam bot, like QW, and put some more power into Bo Nadine's ER. I'm for this. I don't think it's that big of a change or it matters that much, but it's good to see.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge change. It's definitely help out the character, not a huge change, but I guess it'll maybe shift the meta away from crossbow at some point. So I'll give it a 6. I guess it's good for a character to be able to utilize all their abilities in their kits better. So
yeah, I'm giving it a 9. I don't think it's gonna affect a lot, and it's just like a really good quality of life to make a character feel more cohesive.
we now have another larger rework coming through onto William here. Previously, he has a lot of defense whenever he grabbed a baseball off the ground. This defense is being given to his W, so now it will have more of a cooldown, because before, as long as you were dashing to balls, you would constantly have that defense. Now you will only have the defense temporarily when you use your W. As compensation for this overall nerf, whenever you grab a ball, your next auto attack range will be increased, which I think rewards high skilled play of the character and also lets him overall increase his power, because William already has pretty high auto attack range, and being able to increase it more just through a passive with electric shift and possibly an extended fury passive, he could be autoing you from ungodly amounts of range. So I'm a bit scared, but it does reward higher skill ceiling play of the character, so I think it's an overall good change. I will give it an 8.
Yeah, as Jignut said, I'm terrified. You know, I play Subame, I play this diver with like no defense, and now he can throw skill me, still put down his defense zone, auto me from halfway across, and then E back to another one and have that empowered auto again. I'm really scared of what like any good William is going to do on this character, because he's definitely become a lot more skill expressive than what he was before. Tia Red Q was pretty much seen as an unusable ability, so they're looking to increase the range to, I think, the sweet spot of blue in the middle. I hate this. I already get like 90% of my health bar taken away from getting hit by yellow-red, and yellow's already so hard to dodge. I don't need red being just as bad, so I don't like this change, but I think it's good for Tia players.
I do think it's a good change for Tia players. I think Red's range was in an awkward spot where a lot of melee characters were either too close for her to get the paint on them, or too far away to be out of range of the rest of her abilities, so this kind of helps her in that regard. I think it's overall a kind of nice quality of life change for them.
Yeah, I'm praying for Tia nerfs after this, but for the moment, I think it's what she needs, as long as she gets some numbers taken out back, like yellow-red gets reduced a good amount. I could say that this is like an 8 out of 10. It's nice to make a character not feel so awkward.
Yeah, I will also give it an 8. I think it's an overall healthy change.
In the future, though, if she doesn't get any numbers changed and she becomes a menace and I hate her, it's a 0. Just a little addendum.
Okay, so now we have a very interesting change. Adela's W will now have a higher overall cooldown, but now have 2 charges. And simply put, I am terrified.
Fuck this character.
Adela has been nuking you if you are a squishy, a bruiser, still just dealing a lot of damage to you if you're a tank, frailty helping her out, of course. Being able to have 2 of these is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. I don't think this change needed to be made at all. It just, I don't know. I don't think this was needed. She's gonna have more up like CC chain combos too, even if she isn't one-shotting. I'm very worried about this.
Yeah, I don't think Adela needed this. I think Adela's a really hard and rewarding character just to set the boundary. But when you get even like a random pawn fork, it just will like completely annihilate someone, maybe even kill them off right. Like, obviously it's not killing them, but it'll put them in such a disadvantageous position that they die to a teammate follow-up in any way. Giving her 2 and like within 3 seconds, meaning there's a good chance that you can send a pawn one way and then fork again and send it even further. I just can't see this as a good change. I think the character's gonna have to either suffer in nerfs or become my least favorite character to fight more than she is now. 0 out of 10.
I'll give it a 1. Just purely because if they do get a funny little clip combo with a double W, I will enjoy watching that. But if it happens to me, it turns into a 0.
Based. Next we have Vanya. Vanya got a... I think it can be set as a quality of life change or compensation buff. When Vanya throws her Q, instead of returning immediately after hitting the target, it will travel a little bit further and then go to her current location. This definitely fixes her being a matchup check, I think, to a certain degree, so I'm all for it.
The butterfly will also travel backwards a bit further than before, giving her a bit more time to grab it, which is also a nice change for them. It's a good quality of life change. I think this is kind of how it worked from the first place, so... or should have worked from the first place. So I'll give it a 9. I think it's a good change.
Yeah, I'm going to be giving it an 8. I don't like Vanya, but I think the main reason why I didn't was because she just made so many comps not viable in solo queue. It was messed up.
Okay, another big rework. We have Elena. Her D skill will now proc her passive ice field. This is a nice little change, as now when Elena players D skill in, they will instantly have an ice field, so they won't have to DQW. Now they can DWQ, which flows in their kit a lot better, since W can be cancelled early for their Q, while the other way around doesn't exist. That's a nice little quality of life change. Helps the combo feel a lot smoother. And then the bigger part is her Q second explosion is back, so when she uses her Q after a brief delay, it will hit again. It will apply more freeze. A bit worried about how fast they're going to be freezing me now, but it overall it's fine. She had this ability before, and it was actually the second hit was actually taken away from her, and it didn't feel massively oppressive or anything, so I think it's fine. And then another big change. Previously, Elena would receive increased defense while in the middle of casting her skills. This was mainly just for when she's in the middle of her W or E animation. Now, instead, she'll have this increased defense whenever she's on her ice fields. This is just a lot better for the character. Previously, utilizing this defense was kind of hard and also awkward, while this change wants her to play into what she already wants to play in, which is being on her fields and using them more. I think it's just overall a very healthy change for the character, so I will be giving it a 9.
Oh yeah, you missed one thing from what I could tell. The W got increased at its base, so you no longer have a neutered W if you aren't on an ice field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, all of this is like really good changes for Elena. She was always a really weird tank, and I think because of that, her ceiling and what she could actually do was kind of terrifying at times. I hated getting dived by the tank and not being able to 1v1 her. And you know, now that it's not her like W, it's the ice fields. I have a lot better ways of like understanding how she's going to move and when I can do more damage against her. So I really like this change. She still might be cancer for me to fight, but I think it's in a better direction. 9 out of 10. Haze Q will no longer have an inner and outer damage value. This was the change I was talking about before when it seemed like a more normals/casual player change. Whenever you're taking down the ceiling of a character, especially someone like Haze who already has so much, it's usually just to let more people play her. We saw this with the Laura rework, and I don't know how to feel about this. I really just don't like Haze right now. She's really strong in the meta, and she's a very annoying character to deal with because there's just too much poke from off my screen. It's hard for me to deal with. Thoughts?
I am personally hoping that if they do this change, they're going to nerf the damage of the Q at least a little bit, because I feel like most of the time, Haze Q is pretty reactable to at least not get hit in the inner portion of it a lot of the time. So I hope they are not giving just the inner damage value to the entire Q. That would be a bit worrying. As long as they don't do it like that, I don't think it's that big of an issue. I don't think it's a change that needed to be made either, but as long as it's implemented properly, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 4.
I'll give it a 5. I don't think it changes much. It's probably just better for those characters or for those people, rather, who wanted to pick her up.
And our last little reworks applies to 2 different characters getting the same change. Yan and Li Dailin will no longer have their ults blocked by animals. In Yan, a lot of the cases you would use your ropes and then they would get instantly eaten up by a nearby animal, causing you to not be able to combo in that direction, which can be pretty annoying. And for Dailin, maybe you're chasing down a kill and then they run behind a boar so you can't ult them. So now you'll be able to do that. Nice little quality of life changes. It probably should have been in the game a long time ago, but the change is finally here.
I am interested to see if we'll see like boars hitting people into Yan ulti like we did before, but now the boar is not going to eat one of the belts. So maybe we see a 3 belt explosion from a boar. I think that'd be a really funny Twitter clip to see.
I await the clip.
Other than that, Li Dailin being able to ult through animals, it'll probably help when running away some, so like overall it's a good change in both directions for Dailin. Alright, now on to something more technical that it doesn't really seem like it's going to affect a lot of characters, but I think there are a couple that it's going to really hurt. And that is movement speed and attack speed had their calculations changed. Move speed in particular got hit the worst. It got its hard cap taken away, mainly because Lumi wanted to be faster than the hard cap. And now we have a soft cap where it is slowly reducing the amount of movement speed you can gain each time. And it also increases it when you're really slow. So that's something interesting to add. We'll talk about attack speed after because I don't really feel like it matters, but we'll mainly talk about movement speed here first because it's interesting. What do you think about it? I've got some strong opinions.
I am not quite sure at what values it's going to really apply to. I think they did release the numbers, but I didn't really look at that much.
I believe off the top of my head it was 4.5 to 5.3 gets a 20% reduction, and anything past 5.3 gets a 50% reduction.
I personally do not believe that any of my characters really ever hit that cap, so I don't really have any strong opinions on this. I guess it'll be easier to catch a speeding Zahir if he can even reach the high movement speed. I guess it will also be nice for chasing people for the early speed gates. It'll make it a bit easier.
Yeah, fuck these changes. My character's only way of defending herself was through movement speed, and I'm getting hit in like the one place I need it most, and I'm not gaining too much from what I can see. So I think my character might just get absolutely gutted from this. Obviously, I'm still going to have to see. Maybe it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be, but we were rarely hitting that hard cap, and we are always hitting the numbers in the soft cap with our W movement speed, and it's specifically only in a short burst, which means it's getting hit even harder, and I don't know, I just like it. Hopefully I get compensation.
And the second part of this, the attack speed changes, is that any attack speed reduction effect becomes half effective if the attack speed is already under 0.4. I'm not really sure in what scenarios this would ever apply where someone's attack speed does get to be that slow, but I guess it is a good change nonetheless, as getting an attack speed under that low sounds like auto attacking at that point would just be completely meaningless with how slow you're attacking. So
yeah, I can't really imagine. Maybe it's like some point early game with Celine getting hit by Lich Grasp, like one of the weapons ones that lowers attack speed. I really can't think of a place where this even comes up, I'm gonna be honest here.
a very odd change that I was not expecting, but it is here nonetheless. I don't really know how to rate this either, as this plays with like very specific numbers that I have never really had to think about. I guess I don't quite know. It's another one of those ones where we have to really see if it affects anything or not.
I don't know. First thoughts is, I don't know, give Subame Ara's shield as compensation, and it can have a 7. Anything else, and it's 0. I'm not biased, trust.
I will give it a 5 because I still don't quite understand the meaning of these changes. Next, huge W change incoming in Season 6. There will be a dance hotkey. You can now dance whenever you want. Massive W, 10 out of 10.
I'm also going to be giving it a 10 out of 10. One of my favorite things to do in this game was randomly kill them, or like kill someone, clown them, clown spray them on the ground, and then press X to rest and teabag their bodies, and now I get to dance on their corpse instead. I don't even need to use heart ult anymore to do it. Next, we have the faster revive on Terminate and Clutch. I think that these are really good changes that the game needed. There would be a lot of times where you have a close 3v3 that is like ultimately just instantly decided by a third party that came a little bit after the fight had already ended, and they're really just picking up the scraps, and now it's less likely for that to happen. I think this is good.
I personally think it's an amazing change. If you win the fight and then 2 of your teammates are downed, you're at the minus 500 and you don't get any of the creds off your enemies, that really hurts. So if you can at least get out with, another teammate being alive because of the faster revive, you're saving 250 credits. I think this change is quite amazing. I would say it's easily a 10 out of 10 change.
I think it's a 9 out of 10, but obviously it's still up there. This is a great change.
Next we have a new little kill effect that only applies for the very last kill of the game, which is checkmate. It just applies a little slow-mo effect when the last kill of the game happens, just kind of a cool little cinematic shot. I think it's a nice little change. You can have some fun moments with it. Not a huge deal, obviously. Doesn't really affect gameplay at all.
Yeah, I don't think it affects gameplay, but it'll probably affect my mental, because if I ever get a win and then I get to see the slow-mo checkmate, it'll probably feel even better than a win already does. So I'm 100% here for it.
It's a cool little detail. I'll give it a 9. I like it.
Another newcomer change is the tutorials being updated. We don't really know what this entails, and I can't say that I see the tutorial that often to really know what needs to be changed beyond crit high Jin being taken out and maybe them adding in like Lumi.
It hopefully just adds Lumi to the tutorial.
You want crit high Jin as a mainstay?
I just mean hopefully it adds a Lumi there, because there's nothing about Lumi.
That is true.
After all, the saved plans won't gravitate towards crit hedging anyways, so it should be fine.
Trust. Vigor Eva's real.
Next, some more cosmetic changes. There will be some loot changes. The first change is mileage will be located in the shop now instead of the foraging. And the second change is that there will be a new type of currency called the wild cards. These will allow you to buy different items of the same or lower tier of the wild cards you possess. I'm assuming each item will have its own value. For instance, a rare skin will be X amount of cards, while just an icon will be a lesser amount of cards. Just helps players get more resources. If they get a bunch of things that they don't have, they can discard them, some of these wild cards, and then, get some more skins or something. It's a good change. I think getting skins is very easy for the game, but more rewards I will never complain about.
Yeah, I mean, the mileage thing was something that, like, realistically should have always been there, but I don't know. Wild cards, they don't really matter to me. Usually I'm playing the events anyways, so any of the things that I don't have access to is mainly just like cadet skins, because I didn't play ranked back in the day. If they ever release a wild card where you can get a cadet skin, I'm all for it. Otherwise, it doesn't really affect me all that much, so I can't say I really value it all that much. But 6 out of 10.
I'll give it an 8. More rewards are always nice.
Alright, now we have the mid-season change, which is we're getting a pseudo clash/tournament idea. I'm not really sure how this is going to land, but I'm definitely interested. And, I mean, I'm ready to play with you if you want to. I don't know if you'll play with your ranked team. I think they said you could have up to 4 teams though, so shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, we'll see how it all works out. We don't have a lot of details on this yet, but it's another way for, or it's at least intended to be another way to get some practice with, or at least have some fun with some high-ranked teammates that you normally cannot stack with because you are all diamond above. So, if nothing else, it'll be fun to play with some homies again. I think it is a good change, but we'll have to see how it actually all works.
I'm down to give it a 9 out of 10 right now. It's something I really want.
Yeah, I'll give it a 9. I'm excited. Another small change, which is kind of niche, but there will be a vision range of CCTVs being able to be seen now. As in, you can see the ranges of the cameras set up on zones, which will allow you to more easily avoid them. This is really good for newer players, as a lot of high elo players kind of know where they are, what ranges they cover after playing the game for so long, but for newer players who might not even be thinking about this is a good change for them to avoid being seen. And then another smaller niche change is specific walls or windows were very weird and with certain vision ranges. They're going to be changing some of them so that these very niche interactions that are kind of just knowledge checking, if you know this exists or not, are going to be changed. So they are, for the most part, not there. I think it's good. These felt gimmicky. These felt out of place. I'm kind of glad they're being changed.
Yeah, I'm happy that I don't have to worry about someone standing behind a very specific grave and cemetery and then they can suddenly see me for like no reason other than, well, we didn't know how to do vision and your character technically can't see there. The vision range of CCTVs, though, that's actually a big change for me because I always struggled to know exactly where they were, and my character has a very short invisibility, so if I really want to do that, I have to know like the exact pixel perfect thing so I can get through without being seen in some spots. So it's good for me.
I did know about most of the wall in vision range niche change that they did, since I've been playing the game for a very long time. But that cemetery one, I was just shocked when I saw that. Overall, very good. I'll give it a 10.
Yeah, I'll give it a 10 too. I'm happy about it. The last one of our smaller changes is ranked changes. Meteorite is now going to be 600 LP instead of 400 LP. We'll be seeing a bigger soft reset and less of an entry fee for Mithril Plus, because before you would hit Mithril and then every, I think it was like 100 you went up this time around, you got +2, whereas before it was every 200 to your cost. Yeah, this is good. I'm a really big fan.
It's a good change because when you get Mithril, your entry cost climbs very quickly now, and now it feels, or it kind of felt like you were more or less fighting to not lose RP rather than trying to gain and get that number higher. Now it'll give that satisfying feeling of actually climbing higher with the entry cost being a bit lower, while still being increasingly hard as you get higher. I think it's a good change.
Yeah, I can say that Season 5 has definitely felt like the season where it's more about survival than really dominating or living even. It has not been fun for me.
I think it's minor changes, but good changes. I'll give it an 8.
I'm gonna give it a 10. I think this is really nice.
Next, we have some pretty big changes. We are getting a lot of new item passives, and with it, some new items. We don't have the exact details about all the new items, the stats of items that are getting these passive that already exist. We just know exactly what these new passives are going to be doing, which are very interesting as there are a large amount of passives being added this season. The first one is called Rebellion. For now we know that it's going to be on the Omerta item, and it's going to give you an AP increase based on how much HP you've lost, maxing out at 40%. We see that later in the game, a Jackie gets up to 48 AP increased at max health lost. Along with this Omerta being an AP chest, this means that this item can potentially give you up to 108 AP, which is kind of scary, as that is a lot of AP value, not counting its base AP stat, which currently is around 26. So that is a lot of AP from one item.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, though I do think it's going to be more of a niche item. The only characters I really see using it right now are Chloe, Hart, Jackie, Kenneth, Leon, and maybe Daniel, but he'd have to give up a pretty important item for him to run it.
We can be seeing it run on characters that really thrive at low HP or maybe drain tankers, as you mentioned. Chloe and Hart being two ones that really thrive at that low HP, and the other ones just being able to stay alive for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to Chloe getting even more damage this season.
The next passive we have is called Deferral. It is similar to Death's Dance passive from League. It essentially makes it so that any damage you take will be delayed, and you will take that damage over the next 3 seconds instead. We know for now it's going to be on Aodai, which will now of course be craftable for everyone, and that this passive will have different values for ranged and melee characters.
Yeah, I think this passive is really just going to be seen like use from most bruisers or like anyone with a heal. So even more those drain tankers because they really want to stay around for so long.
I am personally excited for this passive, but we'll have to see how well it's used, because the passive can be very good at staying alive, even if you are getting killed. Because you take the damage over time, they might actually put in a lot more resources to kill you than is needed, which can help out your team a lot even if you are blowing up instantly.
Yeah, I think characters like the new Luke, Camillo, Chloe again, Marcus, Kenneth, and Black Mamba Echion, plus Dema and Isaac are really going to like this item.
For sure.
I am just sad about the ranged and melee difference, though it makes sense, obviously.
The next passive we have is Taser Gun Surge. Taser Gun is a passive we already have seen on the Cyberstalker item for AMP characters. This is a AP version of it item, which gives an enhanced auto attack after using a movement skill, which the enhanced auto attack will deal more damage and reduce the target's defense.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this item. I think it's going to be great for my character that just wants to go in and try and one-shot kill somebody after her dash. I can imagine you're going to be looking forward to this as well.
I'll be looking forward to it, depending on the stats and cooldown. We know it is a helmet. We don't know anything about the item stats, though.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It's definitely going to be mainly used by people who want to like auto weave. I think in the trailers they showed Yuki using it, but could definitely see some people like Razi, Felix, and Lita Lin. Anyone who's like really getting those auto weaves in. Even Glovian might use it. It fills a lot of checklists for a lot of characters, so we'll see.
Yep, as a Camillo main, I'm definitely looking forward to this dash synergy item, but we'll have to see. The next passive we have is, or chain of passives I should say, as they are all kind of connected, is Blaze Up. The base passive is ramping attack speed up to 5 stacks by auto attacking. Quite similar to the current Vigor, but it does not gain the health percentage damage bonus.
Yeah, it's an interesting passive. I'm interested to see what the items have to really lose in order to gain it, or if they lose anything at all. The attack speed is definitely going to be used by ADCs pretty much primarily. I'm not really too knowledgeable on bruisers who need the extra ramping attack speed all the time.
Yeah, it would also depend on the item, the base item. I believe for this one it's Beautiful Garment, which I don't believe many bruisers run. Maybe Felix.
The base one, it uses Ghillie Suit.
Ghillie Suit, okay.
Yeah.
The next passive in this is Blaze Up Amplified. This is the amp version of the passive. Instead of stacking with auto attacks, it stacks with landing skills. Each stack will increase your skill damage, and at max stacks it will grant Omni Siphon if it is being equipped on the chest piece slot, or movement speed if it is being equipped on the helmet slot, as there are 2 different items with this passive.
I believe the chest piece is Old Courtier,
Yes.
which is another my item being reused, and the new headpiece is called On Guard.
It is a new item, so we don't know quite what to expect from it.
I do think that the movement speed one is going to be a lot more sought after though. Characters like Zahir, Abigail, maybe even Eva, Irem, and Priya are going to really enjoy it. The Omni Siphon one though, it's probably going to see a lot less use. It's probably going to be a Soichi, Tazia, Celine, Chiara, Sua item. I'm still happy to see it included because I want everyone to get items they love and want to use.
New items is always good for the game. The next passive we have is Blaze Up Enhanced. As opposed to the normal Blaze Up, this one will grant attack power per stack instead of attack speed. And as stated earlier, it will be on the Beautiful Garment. And of course it still has the max of 5 stacks. It is pretty similar. I'd say, as someone who values AP a bit more, I would definitely like this one. I do think it's a bit odd that it's on Beautiful Garms, an item that already has a very large amount of attack speed. But I guess it also kind of makes sense with, being able to use the AP and the attack speed more together.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. This is one of the ones where I could see some characters who are more like AP bruisers actually wanting it, because it isn't so hard locked into crit, and it might actually have defensive stats, although we never really know this time around. We'll see.
Yep, for sure. And the last passive is Blaze Up Outburst. This is kind of the strongest version of the passive. It has both AP and attack speed from auto-attacking, and it has a max of 10 stacks instead of 5. And at max stacks, you will be granted 10% armor pen, which is quite strong. At max stacks, we see someone getting 40 AP and 0.31 attack speed, so pretty meaningful stats already just from the passive alone, and 10% armor pen. The characters that are able to get these 10 auto attacks up and running fast are going to be able to get a huge power spike from this passive.
Yeah, they did say that it will have way lower stats to compensate for how high the ceiling is, and that's why I think it's going to be a very niche option. For example, users like Subame, Chloe, and Rio might be the only ones who actually see use for wanting everything that it gets and actually being able to stack the passive fast enough to be useful. On other characters, it's really just going to be a win more option. You see win more options on characters like Felix and Jackie, where they'll run Adrenaline and they'll get all of these autos off, and they would have already won the fight on other builds, but now they get to win more, So I don't know how much this is really going to matter, and it might get nerfed too much, but I'm really looking forward to this because my character wants all of these stats, can use it. It just looks great. I'm probably going to be rushing it.
I'm in general very excited for all these new passives. It'll change the game quite a bit. Obviously, a lot of items are changing. We're getting a lot of new items. That's always very exciting for build diversity and just new content in the game. So overall, I'm very looking forward to this.
Yeah, I really love when they add new items. I'm a big fan. 10 out of 10.
Agreed. 10 out of 10.
Now on to the thing that most people really care about. We are seeing the new skins. To start off, we have the box purchase, which usually runs around, I think, $60 outright.
Really,
right now?
no, to be honest.
Right?
I kind of sitting on 10k NP.
Okay, rich boy. Not all of us are so special. Either way, if you're unlike this rich man who has enough to pay off all of your debts, look to see. I think Charlotte's an interesting one for this skin. Obviously, Charlotte's a fan favorite, but I can't say I wholly like it. I think she looks a little bit too much like Chiara for my tastes, and I never really liked Charlotte to begin with, so just a 5 for me.
I think I do really like this battle pass thematic, so I'll be giving it a bit higher of a rating. I'm not quite a support player. I'm not a super big Charlotte enjoyer, other than when they're on my team, because I love the support she adds. So I'll give it a 7. I like the theme, but I don't care for Charlotte too much.
Another character like that for me is Cecilia. The skin just really doesn't appeal to me. I'm sure I'm not like I've heard so much praise for the skin. There's so many people excited for it. So if you're excited for it, obviously my rating doesn't matter. You can give it a 10, give Nimble Neuron all your money. That's what I'm hoping for too. Like, obviously we all want to support the same game, but it won't be where I'm putting mine. Still, it's a decent enough skin. It has my favorite Wilson, so I won't be giving it a 1, but I am going to be giving it a 3.
I'm giving it a 5. That Wilson is the GOAT.
Yeah, Wilson really carries the skin, huh?
The candles look nice too.
Yeah, honestly, the candles look good. Yeah, you've got me. I'll give it a 4. Next, my favorite skin out of all the ones they're currently adding, Byleth herself has descended to our mortal plane. I don't know what else to say. Lennox looks so fucking cool, and like she's so pretty. This is such a banger skin.
Lennox is also the epic skin of the Battle Pass, with having a unique win animation, voice lines, and a bit higher quality animations in general. I think the skin's a banger. I like the Battle Pass theme. Lennox is a great character for it. Easily a 10 for me.
I'm giving it the 11. This they blew it out of the park. I don't know what else to say. Now, on to one of the coolest skins I think we've ever seen for like what they did with it. We have Alonzo. You want to give your first take on it?
I think the skin looks great. I was not expecting them to go into like kind of a full-on like lava monster feel for this, but it works great. They have this a voice filter over it too. I think it's really amazing. I think they went with their skin designs this season. They really went above and beyond, and the quality in general has been way up. So I think it's a 10. It's really good skin.
Yeah, this is another 10 easily for me. The only thing is, like, I wish that Alonso had honestly stolen the spot from Charlotte, but I understand, like, you have to make money in these scenarios, and Charlotte is going to get so many more boxes. Like, we've seen how much people love Charlotte. Like, the healing song and all that.
I personally cannot wait to use this skin when I'm forced onto Alonso duty for competitive.
I'm looking forward to watching it. Now on to things you get from the box again. We see Kathy. It's an interesting skin. Another skin from the same universe as, I believe, Abigail's and...
Bianca and Laura.
Laura? Bianca and Laura, yeah. It doesn't really do it for me. I never really was one for, like, the anti-symmetry of the design and, like, kind of hard focusing in on that. To me, she just kind of looks like a... She just kind of looks like a... What would you say that would be? In a nice way? A prostitute? Or like a slutty Halloween costume?
Yeah, it kind of looks like that. I can see how you get that from it. I am personally also not a huge fan of this skin line. I've never really had much appeal for them. I know people do like the skins though, to each their own. Just not really for me.
Yeah, I'll be giving it a 3.
I will be joining you in that 3.
Alright, another very popular character, but they've seen some turbulence as of late. We get Garnet's first skin. It's an interesting skin. I think it's a little bit too clean for Garnet, though. I'm not gonna lie. I think Garnet needs to be a messy character, and they made her too clean. But obviously now she's matching with Kenneth, so you can't really be too angry about that.
I will say, in terms of just the design alone, I definitely like the base skin more. I like the darker colors for her. It matches with like the red eyes and just overall her blood thematic a bit more in my eyes. I know white and red is also a pretty good color scheme. I just like the other one more. I know it's matching with Kenneth. I just like the base skin more, but I think it's still a fine skin. I will give it a 4.
I'm giving it a 4 too. Nothing out of the park. A little bit. It didn't meet my expectations, you know. Then we have Rozzy. Another one of the Valentine skins. I think they blew it out of the park. The first time I even saw this skin, I was like, holy shit, she's so pretty. Like, they really dolled her up, and I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm infatuated at the moment. Maybe Rozzy main. Yeah, I'm giving another 10.
Wasn't ever too impressed with the Valentine skins. Some of them are cute, the rest of them kind of whatever to me. I do think this is by far the best one. I think this is a really good looking skin. I'm excited to see what they do to the effects and all that, but I'm going to give it a 9. It's a great skin.
Alright, our next fan favorite again, we have Lenny. It seems to be in a similar vein to the pass itself being Legion. I think it's called Sweet Devil Lenny?
I believe so.
Not entirely sure. Another Valentine skin all the same. Lenny skins have never really done it for me, but this one is like, I can't deny it's done so well. Like, I'm going to give it a 6 out of the gate because I don't know, they put so much love into this character and I don't really care for it, so it's kind of a sad situation.
I do like the thematic. Not a huge Lenny enjoyer myself. Again, like having them on my team for the support. But yeah, it's a good skin. They've obviously put a good amount of effort into it, so I will be giving it a 6 as well. I'm just not a big support player enjoyer. I don't know what to say.
Now we have the next token skin. Nimble Neuron is really trying to get me to slot in tanks, I guess. Like, I don't know what else to say. We see Mai. This, like, I've never seen a bad Mai skin, and, like, once again, it's never being... She's just never gonna have a bad skin. There's nothing else to say. Nimble Neuron's proven themselves every single time. This is
my favorite skin of the patch by a long shot. I think the skin's amazing. They knocked it out of the park. The long hair looks great, and like you said, they have never missed with my skins, and they keep never missing. It looks amazing.
Next we have Vanya. I almost forgot about her originally. There's not too much of a change between this and her base in my opinion. Mainly just the wings and long hair. So it doesn't really do it for me personally. What are your thoughts on it, Jignut?
I like the wings a bit more. The colors are a bit more vibrant, I guess. I do like it slightly more than the base. I don't think it's an overall huge change to the character though, so I think I'll be giving it a 7 or 8.
I'm going to be giving it a 5. Another character that we saw this season, Yumen, is getting a skin. I think the skin looks great. It kind of reminds me of young Chef Zukai from ISBS, for anyone who's seen that. Interesting pattern, kind of similar hair.
I really like the skin. I've always liked Human's design. The aesthetic sword, really good looking. I think it's a 10. I really like the color scheme. Fits him really well too.
Yeah, we love men in this household. I'm giving it a 10 as well. Then another interesting concept that I didn't think we were going to see is Snowboarder Leon. This is another skin where I'm just absolutely infatuated. I think it's so goofy, and I'm looking forward to it, especially with all the spell effects they can really do with it.
I think it's goofy. I was not expecting this, and I was not expecting to love it so much. It's a 9. It looks great.
I'm also going to be giving it a 9. I can't wait to get one shot by this in one of my ranked games. And then the last skin, as far as I'm aware for the season, is Cadet Heart. You know, the reason to get on, play a couple games, get gold. They never really mess with the Cadet skins, other than it not being for my main. So, like, obviously, I'm so happy to see it.
Okay, yeah, like you said, Cadet skins always look good. They have a overall pretty good theme to them. Good color scheme all around. Another good skin. I think it's a solid 8.
I'm going to be giving it a 9, just because I think the amp's really pretty, and I know the spell effects themselves are going to be like really cool. I can't wait to see what they do with their W, E, and R. And then we are going to be covering the Season 6 new characters that will be added. We saw 2, and just for like, you know, interesting sake, we'll be covering the Season 7 characters, where we won't be covering any other Season 7 content. We'll do that because they're very likely to change. We'll talk about it when we reach it, but the characters won't. They're pretty much set in stone. Our first one is Hisui, a part of the same organization that Tsubame had left. Hisui's name means, I believe, jade in Chinese or Japanese, one of the two. It's a very interesting character. We can see her namesake being the big blade she carries on her right. Is that right or left? Not her left hip, my bad. It's a big jade sword with also a jade scabbard. This is peak character design. What do you think, Jignut?
I really like it. I love swords, as you know. I played dual sword Camilla. I see she has a bunch of swords. Very colorful design. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think this is really a 10 out of 10. They hit it out of the park with this character.
I'm liking the season changes. I'm liking the skins, and then I'm really looking forward to this character. This is a huge excitement for me.
I might be fighting you for it in ranked, I can't lie. This character looks great. Then our next character for the season is Justiana. It is a very interesting character. I really like her design. I really love red-haired characters, and like overall, I think her crossbow looks cool. The rest of her gadgets look cool. I don't know if I really care for the, I think, biker shorts that she wears, but maybe they're practical enough, they make sense. And her eyes and goggles are just, they're great. This character's design I'm looking forward to for mid-season.
I definitely like the techie design. We have like the kind of wilderness crossbow character, and then we have Carla, who's kind of the, what is it?
Ship?
I guess ship-themed or sea-themed character. So getting a techie crossbow character is, you know, you normally associate a crossbow with like, you know, like hunters, stuff like that. Like nothing with like, you know, advanced technology. So it'll be interesting to see how they even put this kit in. Character design, I do like the hair, the goggles. I'm not as interested, but, and also, you know, I'm a mostly melee player, but I'm definitely willing to see if they give her a cool kit. I'll make sure to check her out for sure.
I'm going to be giving Justiana a 9 out of 10. She's not as good as Hisui, but I'm looking forward to her almost as much.
I will give her a 7 or 8. I'm looking forward to her. Not quite as much as Jin over here, but I'll be enjoying it if it's a cool kit.
And then we also got a new wallpaper for both of them. This looks great. This is probably going to be my wallpaper for I don't even know how long. Maybe the rest of the time the game's up.
Banger wallpaper.
Now on to Season 7 characters. The first one we have is Esteban. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. Hopefully I didn't butcher it. He has a more mediocre design to me. He just kind of looks like if Aiden had long hair and red eyes. But his weapon looks really cool, and I heard that his specific gimmick is going to be like time. So just from that, I think he's a 7 out the gate.
His design is kind of bland for me, however, the spear weapon is something that appeals to me. Fortunately, Felix is just not quite for me, but I can definitely get behind this character as a melee enjoyer. From a lore perspective, I believe he was also one of the researchers who looked after Cicella at one point, is what I've been told. So one of the researchers actually joining the experiment is interesting.
100%. Really interested in what they're going to do with his lore, more so than the character itself. And then the last character we'll be seeing, Nia. I don't like this character. It seems like a really awkward design. I can't really put my finger on why, but definitely just not for me. Looks like another pistol character. Probably will be a lot of people's favorites.
I believe she is confirmed to be pistol.
It's probably going to be a lot of people's favorites, just not going to be my favorite. Maybe it's another support character, I don't know.
I don't quite like her as much either. I kind of don't like pistol characters, so I hate playing against them. That aside though, the design is just kind of not it for me. Gamer aesthetic is cool, but this one just doesn't really work for me. I don't know. I guess it's the color theme. Or maybe, I don't quite know how to put it into words, but character just isn't quite for me. So that season I'll be trying out Esteban.
I could definitely see myself playing her if, she just has the coolest kit in the entire game, but she's gonna have to do a lot to win me over, I'll say that much.
Yeah, if a character has a cool kit, I will enjoy them no matter what. It's just a matter of, will it be cool enough?
One thing I will be stating, I see a Nimble Neuron themed fry cup on her controller for whatever reason. That's really goofy. I like that. And just because of that, instead of the 3 I was going to give it, I'm giving the character design a 5.
I'll give it a 5 as well. See what they do with the kit.
Interesting enough. And with that, the dev stream's over, and we got to see mainly what they're really planning. It was interesting to see into the heads of Nimble Neuron. I always like when they do these dev streams because you actually get to talk to them on the Korean side, and this year on the English side, which wasn't a thing pretty much all last year, right? We'd lost pretty much all support from them.
Yeah, we didn't have them until last season, the English side. But the dev streams are always cool. A lot of hype for the next season, especially as this one is coming to a close. They're always very cool, especially to see new details on what's coming up in future seasons and stuff.
Yeah, I really hated this season, so I was looking forward to this, and they blew it out of the park for me.
I am very excited for next season.
And with that, tell us your thoughts. If you have any changes that you think were terrible or way better than we gave them credit, skins included, comment below. If you want to tell me why Cecilla's is actually the coolest skin in the entire game, go ahead and write paragraphs. I'm up to read them.
For the next video, we will see you guys then for the Season 6 patch notes rundown. It might be a long one, so strap in.